A few months ago, I made a video about an oil cooler modification for the Yamaha YX600 Radian. I had not yet installed it on the bike yet, so I was talking about what I was planning on doing, not necessarily what I was going to do. So now I'm about to put the unit on the bike. So I think I'm ready with my brackets and stuff. I'll give you a closer look at these in a second. Here's one. This is going to be the top bracket. And then this is a lower bracket. So let me get a close-up of each of these for you. Here are the two brackets that I made to mount the oil cooler to the bike. This is the lower bracket. You may recall from my previous video that that this is a different bracket, is what I'm trying to spit out. I made the other bracket differently, and then I found out via some comments in the Yahoo News group. Trying to get you a tighter shot of that. That there are already mounting points on the engine. And I'll show you those on the bike in a moment. And that those mounting points were intended for the oil cooler when the bike is in the FZ or the FJ 600 mode, when the engine is anyway, I should say. So the only problem was with the Maxim frame, it's not a direct bolt up. So what I needed to do was make this, which what happens is there's two bolts that will come down through here off the engine, and then this extends out, and then you see I put these risers, or I guess technically they would be called lowerers. I added those on, and they will drop it down so that the mount, that grabs the hoses, so that will be in the right position. The other holes, these I just to lighten it a little bit, and then also I was afraid of the flexiness of it, so I welded on two pieces of rod just to give it a little stiffness, but it also made it heavy, so then I turned around and I drilled it, but whatever, I think it'll suffice. Second, zoom out a little bit. This is the upper mount. So if you recall, the oil cooler has a post, and that'll go up through this hole here. Okay, and then these two holes will bolt to the frame, to some existing holes, and then these two holes down here will secure the cooler part of the oil cooler. And I'll show you all that in a minute. This is a little decorative pattern, is just to lighten the load once again. This is made out of angle iron. This was made out of a piece of just 2-inch flat bar, I think that is. This is a piece of angle iron that I cut and shaped, drilled out. This is a 1-inch flat bar, again, that I've welded on. And had to put them in at an angle so they fit the frame, because otherwise they didn't fit the frame. And then down here, I kind of screwed this. I screwed my measurements up a little bit, I think. I still don't quite know what I did wrong, but my holes down here ended up offset a little bit, which it's going to be hidden behind the, it'll be hidden behind the oil cooler anyway, so no one will ever know. But see how they're kind of they're off to the side a little bit. There's some washers that I didn't really intentionally weld on there. I ran a bolt through here, a nut and a bolt, to secure it while I welded it, and I wanted the washer on there while I did that, and the washers ended up getting kind of semi-welded on. It's not a hard weld, but whatever. So that's that. Now, if you're thinking about doing this, don't be afraid to do it if you don't know how to do metal work or whatever, because neither did I really when I started doing this. For example, example A, this is one of the first ones I did. I did a bunch of these before I got it right, and then at the end of it, it's not even really right. But it's right enough. It'll work. That'll do. So next we'll go outside and I'll show you how these will mount with the actual oil cooler. Here's my bike. I pulled the tank off it, and I also disconnected my, well, I didn't disconnect, but I got my, those are my horns. I run dual horns on my bike, just as a side note. These are made by Fiam, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a dual horn setup. It's the loudest thing on the market, and when I hit my horn, you'd think there's a truck behind you. It's a beautiful thing. But anyway, yeah, I pulled them off to give good access to see everything. So let me give you a tour here of what's going on. There is my cooler. All right. And as we go down, you see the lines run down. You can see the bracket in the background there. And the lines run down to the adapter all the way at the bottom. And there's obviously no filter or cap on there right now. Okay, here's the side view. And you can even see down to those. There's the bottom bracket, or the bottom of the bracket, holding on to the bottom of the cooler. And see the rubber piece of rubber I put on the post up top. Kind of made my own bushing. We'll see how that holds up. I think it'll do okay though. There is the lower bracket that holds the hoses. You can see where it holds the hoses there. Let's see, that's in focus now, and then you can see the bracket in the background that bolts to the engine on those studs that exist on the engine. Those studs are pointed downwards, so the nuts are actually underneath that bracket. There's another view of that bracket. See it down there in between the pipes? I'm trying to show you all of it by just kind of shifting the camera around a little bit. This is a view of the back side of the mounting bolts, the upper bolts, the ones at the bottom of that bracket that I made. I know it sounds weird to say the upper ones and the bottom, but remember the lower bracket is for the hoses and the upper bracket is for the oil cooler unit itself. And you can see it's going through. That's a gusset in the frame. It's stamped steel, and you see they stamp bends into it in order to make it stronger, make it more rigid. So I'll show you. I'll get you a shot of my other frame so you can see it better. That those holes that I'm going through are not perfectly flat. So that washer is not seated properly because the hole is rounded. So what I had to do was get a size smaller washer, and then I used my Dremel to open the hole up large enough to accept this bolt, and it seats properly. These bolts, I believe, are 5/8, and I think the washer I'm going to put onto them is 3/8. So, and it makes a lot of sense to pull your horn in your tank to access the back of that, because it's a very tight squeeze. So those are the holes. See, this is my frame. It's not sitting level right now. You can see. Well, I can really show you. See, it's sitting funny. It ought to be sitting down, down like that. But whatever. So those are the holes. And you can see how it's raised up like that. So, but it still has a flat bottom. So I just had to make that washer small enough to fit, you know. And remember we're talking in the back. But yeah. Okay, there's the lower part of the bracket. You can see it's a smaller bolt. And remember, there's some spacers on there. And so I'm going to be putting see the rubber bushing in there? I'll be putting a washer in between. I haven't done that yet, but I'll be putting a steel washer in there. But outside of that, it's pretty straightforward what's going on.